Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Cardano and its native token ADA. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, if you want to earn rewards on your ADA, go stake your ADA with the ITC stake pool. There's information on how to do that in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So during this mania phase that we've just come out of and are sort of consolidating now, we discussed many times the downside risk. Okay, we discussed many times the downside risk of investing in crypto. And one of the things that we know is that even in a bull market, the 20-week SMA should be the minimum downside risk for ADA. And the only reason we speculated that was because that's where we saw Ethereum go back down in the prior market cycle. Now, so far, I mean, ADA has had a wick down below, but so far, we're still relatively far above it. Okay, so let's take a look at where we currently are. So ADA would have to actually drop another 30% or so, almost 30%, to get back to the 20-week SMA. Now, if you're curious, the 20-week SMA now corresponds to $1.08, and the 21-week EMA corresponds to $1.12. So that would be the bull market support band. Note, if you're new to crypto, that you might not be fully aware of this, but note that when Bitcoin is below its 20-week SMA, when it's below its 20-week SMA, it is more likely that altcoins will struggle to put in new all-time highs and to keep pace with it. Now, it does not mean that they can't, but I would be skeptical. I'm just telling you guys, we got to be honest every step of the way in the cycle. I'm going to be skeptical that ADA can put in a new all-time high until Bitcoin figures out what it's doing. Because with this type of instability in the market with Bitcoin, it is going to make it very challenging for enough confidence to resume to Cardano in the short term for it to put in decisively a new all-time high and go to like $2.50. Again, I do think we will make it there this market cycle, but we have to recognize that this cycle is different than a lot of the ones we've seen, and we have discussed many, many times since 2019 on this channel the idea of a lengthened cycle. So again, if Bitcoin gives us this lengthened cycle that we've discussed forever on this channel, and instead of having a slow, methodical move like we did in 2016 and 2017, where we just came back down to the 20-week and tested it every 2 to 3 months, so far, this cycle, in my opinion, looks, it moves above the 20-week and goes on a impulsive move and then corrects back a bit. And then we go on this crazy run when we get back above the 20-week and hold it as support, and then we're starting to correct back again. So what I'm saying now is that there is a non-negligible chance that we're in an accumulation phase or a consolidation phase for a number of months. This could go on for many more months than some people might think. I've seen some predictions on various sources, and I know that one popular theory is that we immediately get a V-shaped recovery and immediately put in a new all-time high for Bitcoin. I would love it if that happens. I think that's great, and it would provide a lot of evidence that altcoins are going to do well in the short term. I think a more realistic scenario, though, is a longer consolidation phase than most people are leading on to, okay? Like 2019, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for us to have a period of consolidation. It's going to be hard for us to immediately put in new all-time highs, and that's not a bad thing, okay? That's not a bad thing. So what does this mean for ADA? Well, ADA is actually one of the few coins that's holding up relatively well against Bitcoin. Many coins have bled significantly against Bitcoin. ADA has not. I mean, it has come down some. You can see that it's currently down around 22% against Bitcoin. There are many other coins that would love it if they were only 22% against Bitcoin. More notable is against Ethereum. ADA is actually doing relatively okay despite the pullback. In fact, you could say that over the last 3 to 4 days, ADA has been going up against Ethereum. So despite the fact that Bitcoin has been pulling back, we know that it pulls back the entire market. ADA has actually been gaining a little bit of ground on Ethereum, which in my opinion is somewhat impressive. This is very impressive. Now, here's a really interesting chart that you guys might like to see. It is the normalized ROI of ADA and a lot of other cryptocurrencies from March 13th of 2020. Now, arguably, this punishes the ones that didn't crash as hard, but it also highlights the ones that have given a high ROI since the crash on the daily time frame. We're not going to the bottom of the wick, we're just going to the daily close. And you can see that ADA has spent a decent amount of its time in the lead. It's our racehorse. It's the racehorse that we have for the cycle, or one of the racehorses that we have for the cycle. It was ahead. It was in first place here out of the coins we've been tracking. It was in first place here for a while. You can see that VeChain overtook it for a little while, but during this dump, VeChain dumped a lot harder than ADA has so far, and ADA has therefore reclaimed the lead out of the coins we follow. So to me, this looks fairly impressive considering how well that ADA has been holding up, not only against the US dollar, but also against Bitcoin and Ethereum. I should remind you that we had only seen weekly closes at our current level for the first time literally in May. Okay, so the price that we're currently at, we only had a weekly close there above it for the first time ever in Cardano's history, going back to 2017. The first time ever was in this month. Okay, now that might not be a great consolation prize for people who are buying up at these levels, but I will tell you that in the grand scheme of the cycle, I think ADA has a ways to go. Now, we have made plenty of videos where we said that 50 to 60% corrections should be par for the course for this cycle. And so far, let's see if we got one. You can see that in fact, we got a 63% correction. We've warned about this many times, that these corrections can easily happen even in a bull market. If you go look again at Ethereum, and we just take a look at again what it did during the last cycle, you might remember, despite the fact that it might seem like it was just straight up, there were phases where the price of Ethereum from the local top was able to bleed 60 to 70%. It did not preclude it from moving higher over the course of the bull run, but they were pretty significant corrections. So in the past, we identified that we will likely get these types of corrections. And I can tell you this too, if Bitcoin continues to pull back, it's going to be hard for Cardano to hold its USD valuation. Again, I'm very bullish on Cardano, but we also have to recognize that Bitcoin during a correction and weekly closes below the 20-week can hammer altcoins hard. Okay, so one idea is make sure you're earning interest. Make sure you're earning interest. Like, you can go stake with the ITC stake pool if you want. Link to that in the description. If you don't like that, go stake with someone else, right? Go stake with someone else if you would prefer. The most important thing, I think, is earning interest and realizing that interest can be worth a lot later on. You know, there have been a lot of projects where it just doesn't seem like earning interest is worth it when things are bearish, but then if the valuation of the crypto goes up like 10x one day, you're going to be wishing you had earned that interest, because the interest might seem small when you're getting it, but if the valuation goes up 10x, think about what that could buy for you. I mean, because you could get to the point, if you wanted to use different cryptocurrencies as a secondary income stream, not necessarily because you're selling your base, the base position that you have. Okay, it could just be that you're taking profits on the rewards or the interest that you're getting. And I think a lot of people underestimate how powerful earning interest or earning rewards can be in the crypto space. So make sure you're earning it. Make sure to check that out. So regardless, you know, right now we've identified that out of all the cryptocurrencies, the main ones that we followed that were trading on the open market back in March of 2020, Cardano is doing relatively well. Okay, and it's been holding up relatively well despite the dump. It was only a few weeks ago when we were basically just, you know, trading right around $1.20. We're actually still above that right now, though I do wonder if we can, you know, I think the chances that we go back to $1.20 are only going to increase as Bitcoin, if Bitcoin continues to move down, like if Bitcoin continues to move down this way, then the chances that ADA continues to bleed against the US dollar go up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to bleed against Ethereum. Of course, it would likely bleed against Bitcoin in that scenario. If you look at the entire market, you can see that a lot of cryptocurrencies have been absolutely hammered. I mean, Ethereum's down 38%, Binance Coin is down 47%. ADA is coming in at a more modest 35% drop. So we know the entire market is down right now. And despite that, ADA is holding up relatively well. And I think one of the reasons it's holding up relatively well is because it actually had this surge before the drop, okay? Because if it didn't have this surge and it just dropped from here, then it would have already likely been interacting a lot closer with the bull market support band. The fact that it had that little pump before we've gotten this major pullback is probably keeping it from being back down at this level. So what do we know? If Bitcoin goes through a phase where it goes into a V-shaped recovery, like is being called on a lot of different places, then it's pretty likely that altcoins would recover fairly quickly. On the other hand, if Bitcoin bleeds a bit more and spends some time recovering and doesn't immediately recover, then this would cause some altcoins to lose confidence. And this is why you want to be very particular about which altcoins you're holding. You want to be holding ones that you do think can stand the test of time, that you recognize would likely bleed against Bitcoin during a dump. But if you're earning interest on them, if you believe in the long term and you believe in the project, then I think that there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. So we'll continue chugging along. I'm still very bullish on ADA for the market cycle. Always recognize the downside risk. We always discuss it in the bull market. A lot of people kind of make fun of it. Then you get things turn slightly bearish, and then you see why we talk about it so much is because in a bull market, a lot of people underestimate the downside risk. So far, we haven't even tested the bull market support band on the weekly time frame. And it seems unlikely to happen this week unless Bitcoin has a major dump over the next day. If it does, if Bitcoin dumps down to like 30K or something, then we're probably going to be testing our bull market support band, which from the current prices again would be about 28% down or so. So let's continue chugging along. We'll continue to see where this market cycle takes us. Obviously, Bitcoin was heated. We identified that by comparing to the market cycle ROI of Bitcoin, comparing to the ROI as measured from the halving as well, and the market cycle bottom. We recognized that Bitcoin was ahead of schedule, that a cool-off phase wasn't necessarily the worst thing. We've gotten this cool-off phase. We don't know exactly how long it's going to last, but we do recognize that ADA will likely bleed against Bitcoin if Bitcoin is pulling back. Our Consolation price so far is that the valuation of ADA against Ethereum has actually been going up over the last few days. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, if you want to earn interest or rewards on your ADA, go check out the ITC stake pool. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to learn how to do that if you're not sure. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe at the very least. Check out the sale on the premium list. You can find a link to that in the description below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.